behave. The room is open. Here we go. We're going to give it a minute. We're going to let a few people come in. I'm sure we got a lot of new people. Someone's got their hand up. We were just, while we're waiting, we were just talking about the qualifications for the horror niche that is a slasher film. And a few people are of the opinion that the film Psycho is a slasher movie. What does the audience think?
It is a slasher movie. It is the first slasher movie.
I disagree.
It's the original slasher movie.
I think it's a psychological thriller, but it's not a slasher movie. What is the come on, chime in.
He goes out with a knife. He's like,
Knife cannot be the qualifier. A knife,
chocolate syrup was
I think
squirted on the shower. I'm still scared of showers because of it.
A knife.
I think Psycho was the inspiration for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that doesn't make it a slasher though. I disagree with that.
You're just giving everybody an instructional lesson on why dictatorships work.
I don't think that a knife, a knife alone cannot be the qualifier for a slasher film.
He's a serial murderer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I feel like you got to have teens running around and making stupid, going into the splitting up. Hey, we should all split up.
Why does it have to be teens?
I feel like that's a pretty important part of the slasher genre. I feel like that always has been a big part of it. Anyways, I think we are at the starting point. So
fire away.
Fire away.
All right. Gary says he does undeniably slash in Psycho, but as I said, they also do that in Gladiator, and Gladiator is not a slasher movie. So
he is a serial killer.
Anyways, all right. Well, John, take it away.
We can debate this for the next couple of hours.
Yeah, this is good content.
We will.
Yeah,
this is good content.
Let's get the drawing night started. Welcome everybody to Illustration Isolation, episode number 82. Timmy just informed us. That just amazes me. 82 times we've done this. Thank you all for participating. It's been both from the artists that participate and from our guests that come and join us. It's been really a tremendous amount of fun, and it must be a good thing if we've managed to continue to do it 82 times. So if you're new to us, we're going to do 3 poses tonight. Our subject matter is black and white monsters. And our first starts with Mr. Frankenstein here, or Monster Frankenstein, my favorite horror film of all time, of this genre anyway. Dracula, Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney Jr. as Wolfman. And on the last pose, it's a longer pose. You can either draw both, or you can pick one of the 2 options that we have. We have Elisa Lancaster as, I have menu coverings part of this up, as the Bride of Frankenstein. And absolutely, I love that movie just as much as I love the first Frankenstein. It was a great continuation. It was the second of the 2. Beautiful reference. The first couple of poses are 20 minutes long. The third pose is between 35 and 40 minutes. please post your work in between poses to hashtag illustration isolation on Instagram. And if you could control the conversation or get into the conversation by messaging us in the chat, and we'll pay attention to that. Timmy will be watching that. Of course, he edits what he doesn't like. So he's in complete control here.
Yeah, I am. This is my stage. I just want to remind everyone.
Somebody needs to be. Let's put it that way.
You know what's cool? I thought about the images you chose, John, is Frankenstein's monster. The technology that clearly came along between the original monster and Bride of Frankenstein. Bride of Frankenstein doesn't have a lot of visible stitches or anything. It's a real leaps and bounds.
She's much prettier.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to stop sharing, and we can get drawing. If you have questions, I will change my. I've been sitting here drawing since I came into the room. So I have a start. Chris Payne is probably further along than I am now.
Not started yet.
No. I started drawing. I think it's up there. Whoops. Here we go. You can if you're at least on the first pose, you know that we're drawing this reference. So Chris, how old were you when you saw this movie?
Ooh, gosh, it has to be like first grade, second grade, because we had a Saturday afternoon shock theater, I think is what it was called, with a host, and they'd show, the old Universal stuff.
That's awesome.
And then I think it was like by the time I was in high school, we had the Friday night thing with a host called the Cool Ghoul.
Yeah.
And
we did Creature Features. That's the one I watched I watched it every Saturday afternoon and when I could, and then every Saturday night. I loved it. Came on today.
I still remember those. Some of them, they'd scare you so much. I'd be watching half the movie from behind a sofa.
Well, Chris, you knew my family. You knew that that group liked to entertain themselves and go out on weekends and do adult things. And I was always left with either my house or the Heindel's house. And their sons were a year older and a year younger than me. And we would scare ourselves watching the monster movies. We lived out in the country, kind of away from everybody. And we scared ourselves to death.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but wouldn't have
his family had a nice house back of the woods, man. And I mean to tell you, and if the raccoons came out and started knocking over the trash cans, I mean, scared the jeepers out of us. But man, yeah. I think it was the one that you don't have here that I always thought was one of the scariest was The Mummy.
Yeah, The Mummy was free.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when Boris Karloff gets mummified, that little scene is just pretty scary stuff. And and they would do things where he looks into a pool and just starts grabbing. So it's much more magic in it. There's a lot more magic in that as opposed to somebody strangling somebody. It was him strangling, the air and being able to, kill people. It was pretty haunting.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like I wasn't sure I wanted to draw The Mummy as much as I wanted to draw these guys.
Well, Mummy was, if you tried to draw The Mummy, that was hard because man, that's a lot of stuff. Whereas if you when it's Otis Bay, that's pretty cool when, where he's wearing the fez. And I just recently drew him in his fez outfit.
Yeah, I saw that.
I drew him. Yeah, that's a great drawing, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, I drew that. I've drawn him in his fez. He's got such a great face.
Well,
Yeah.
Chris, you also get a kick out of this. This was the first movie my father ever went to see.
Wow.
And said that he and his buddy had to walk a couple of miles home in the dark.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
He said it was something he remembered his entire life. He loved talking about that.
I remember my father-in-law saying his first movie he saw, which I always thought was amazing, was Fantasia.
Oh, cool.
Oh
Love
yeah.
that one.
Well, this movie was only made 2 years before my father was born. So
Yeah.
I didn't realize the Frankenstein story was like actually scary. I read the book, but I know the movies. It's kind of, the movies kind of famously, many of them don't really follow the original story, I
Yeah.
believe. Right?
Yeah.
Terry Brown says in 1818 it was scary. Nice.
Well, I mean, the story was written more or less on that, a bet.
Yeah.
hi, Terry.
Yeah, here.
Well, of course, by a Woman is by Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Gothic? It's about the writing of Frankenstein, the night of origin, where
Oh yeah. I mean, I've heard the story, but I haven't seen the movie.
yeah, it's a fun. I mean, it's a fun movie. They all drink laudanum and hallucinate, and it's got Gabriel Byrne and oh crap, can't think of her name. Vanessa Redgrave daughter,
Natasha.
Natasha Richardson, and Helena Bonham Carter, I think, is in it.
Oh, what a cast.
And I think it's Julian Sands as well. He plays Percy Shelley.
The thing is, it's kind of interesting to read the stories of just what kind of torture Karloff went through just in makeup alone.
Yeah.
But I doubt it was healthy for him just as a starting point.
He did have a pretty good start with what God gave him. What came naturally.
Oh, but man, did he play what an amazing and versatile actor he was, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he just some great movies. John Ford's Lost Patrol is just watch it for his performance alone. It's worth it.
And to even make it better, one of my favorite artists did a great drawing of him. Fetchin.
Oh yeah, that Fetchin portrait of him is fantastic.
Yep. We were talking about Fetchin in study hall last night.
Yeah.
Blackshear did a nice one of him for the stamp, didn't he?
Yeah. We had Tom in Studio Bridge the last couple of weeks. He's going to do a
Cool.
painting demonstration for us this coming Monday night. It's doing a two-parter. First part is like an alla prima straight up oil. And the second part will be after it dries for a week, he's going to glaze it and colorize it.
Oh, cool.
That should be great.
Yeah. Most of what he does is.
I'll be in Philly. Say hi to him for me. It's been a long time since I've had a chat with him.
He certainly remembers you because we were talking about you. I went out to see him a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about contemporary illustration and people that he admired and knew along the way, and you were definitely on that list.
Well, I remember a fantastic evening we all spent after one of the society events. And he was good guy.
His medal in the cab.
Yeah, and yeah, that was a memorable night.
Did you go over to the St. Moritz Hotel and see the mural over the old King Cole bar?
That was I think we did that. That was probably before that tradition, started. To some degree, that tradition started, the year that I chaired, and after the show, you came over and we had just one heck of a good time there. That was a very memorable night.
For those of you in the group,
And
the
just,
society.
uh,
Sorry. I was going to say, for those in
This
the
is
group,
just gonna say, we gotta,
Timmy, you're kind of cutting out.
okay, well, I was just gonna say, I know we've got a lot of new people with us tonight. If you're joining us for the first time, let us know in the chat. Then also, I didn't know if we'd done an intro, but we've got Terry Brown on the panel right now.
Yay.
hey, oh, that was me.
And for I should introduce everybody properly. Terry,
Yeah, just everybody heard a voice.
director of the Society of Illustrators in New York for about a quarter of a century, and was the organization that I think that did the best job curating American illustration and running the show, running the museum. And Terry has just an amazing number of great stories of interactions, experiences he had.
All right. Okay.
I'm still going. I'm still.
Sounds like my
I have
obit.
still a list that you sent me. Hold on.
When Chris mentioned Tom Blackshear and the Society's annual show, that was the gathering of the year. People would look forward to it. They'd come in from out of town. There'd be a reception from 6 to 7, an award ceremony from 7 to 8:15, and the bar was open. But by 10 o'clock, people were a little anxious to get out of the building and do something. We're on 63rd Street next to Park Avenue, and the St. Moritz Hotel was on 54th Street. So that's a half a mile. That's 20 blocks on 5th Avenue. So that's 2 avenues over. And there is the old King Cole bar. And over the bar was a mural by Maxfield Parrish depicting the line from the famous poem, 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie, yada, yada, yada. And there was a tradition that got started that at some point, those who had medals in their hand and their hangers on would walk down Park Avenue, those 10 blocks, and then over to the St. Regis Hotel and sit around that mural. And I'm thinking, wow, I was amazed. I'm not an artist, as you all know it, but to see the feeling they had for being around original Maxfield Parrish when they had the gold medal in their pocket that they had earned that year, that really convinced me that these people take their job very, very seriously. I wish I had a recording of the conversations between 63rd Street and 54th Street that were going on. But Chris, you may remember I made the mistake that year that you were chair and you said, let's do that. I said, I'd buy the first.
Yes.
Drink. You all can do the math. If you've got 31 people and they're all ordering high-end martinis at
Oh my gosh.
$20 a pop
Oh, man.
back then, I'm still paying that bad boy. I paid off my kid's student loan, but I'm still paying that one off.
Well, I made that mistake once too with my students, telling them I buy them a first round. they just never told the bartender that that was their first one. And so there were some kids I got, you know, they got about 7 or 8 drinks out of me. And I remember one evening, you know, I'm down in the studio, my wife comes in and says, "What the hell were you doing to Society of Illustrators?" Because the bill came in, it was like $600.
Oh my gosh.
Bill, we've got you spotlit, and I really appreciate the Halloween spirit with your Frankenstein stitching.
My
Yeah,
stitched
really.
hands, yeah.
That's fantastic.
I had to do something, you know.
I
I'm
didn't even,
hoping that Audrey can come in and bring it, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
so far you're winning the costume contest.
well, I figured all you see is my hands, so,
Right.
and we're drawing Frankenstein, so, or trying to draw Frankenstein for my kids. There's a Maxfield Parish, well, there was a Maxfield Parish mural in San Francisco at the Pied Piper.
I think isn't it still there?
I don't know if the bar is still there.
Gary was mentioning that.
Yeah,
Last time I was there it was.
yeah,
Chris, we saw that together.
Oh, yeah.
that's such, I mean, and that, yeah, it's an amazing thing to see one of his originals, and you're like, it's just right there over the bar, you know.
Well, the old King Cole mural had to be taken down after many years because of the cigarette smoke that had accumulated on it in that environment. And there was a big story in the New York Times, and they were so excited, they were so smart, they replaced it with a digital print.
Ugh.
For
Oh.
the year it was going to be down. And I thought that was just such bad form. I mean, put a sticker out there saying it's out being fixed. That makes more sense than putting up a digital print, but okay. so
Yeah,
Was it a digital print of that piece?
yes. It's to scale.
Well,
that's
they
a-
also, you remember, Terry, back in the day, they used to have a second parish over by the elevator banks, but they sold it.
That's right. They did. They did. That sold for a good amount of money, as I recall. And it was shortly thereafter that the Cutlers said they would sell the original of the 2 young ladies between the 2 pillars.
Oh, Daybreak.
Daybreak. I'm sorry, Daybreak. They put an ad in Fine Arts Connoisseur that was for sale. Offers above $1 million will receive a response. And it was the first time an illustration was being offered, a piece of commercial art was being offered at $1 million. Oh, and they got well over that. But I thought that was a nice point to make to all of the fine art connoisseurs that it's a throwaway illustration of a couple of young ladies hanging out on the porch, done for a print, and we won $1 million.
Can I call you back later? I'm drawing with the illustration group.
Yeah, Chris, call me back.
Can I call you back? You know what's so funny is we have been playing phone tag for a week because he's been filming down in Louisville, and he was supposed to be off last week, but they extended the film. And he's an art director on this film. And so we said, okay, we'll do it later. And then I tried to call him earlier, and he was still out. Sorry about that.
Okay. You should have been like really indignant to him, just like, what do you mean calling me during illustration isolation?
I'm in isolation here.
Me?
I thought he knew my schedule. Now, Terry, do you know that little story about being able to imitate Imogene Coco, imitating Boris Karloff with one word?
I do not. Is this Final Jeopardy?
No, it's not Final Jeopardy, but it's a good little piece of kind of comedy history, because you really can when you, because Karloff had that little bit of a lisp and in the way he spoke, and also kind of had a musical way his voice would kind of go up and down. And the word is antipofto.
Ipasto.
A little bit of an English accent, a little bit of a lisp, and a little lyrical nature to it, and you pretty much have got Karloff down with one word.
One of my favorite Karloff things is the Grinch.
Oh gosh, yes.
Oh, totally.
I mean, that gave that thing so much weight, and the Grinch had a very awful
That's
thought.
Like, just no one can sing that song better.
No, absolutely. Oh, that's cool. That's beautiful, Cassandra.
Oh, thanks.
On
I,
that-
Yeah.
I was
What'd you
going to
say?
say on that note, Cassandra, we've got a question. Cassandra, are you using walnut ink?
Oh, funny you should ask. Yeah, I had a week where I couldn't work on my solo show because my kids got sick. And unfortunately, I spent a couple days with my daughter in the hospital earlier this week.
Oh no.
She's doing better, but it's been kind of a long week, but they can't go to preschool and the babysitter can't come because they were contagious with this really yucky cold. So I made my own walnut ink this week, and that's what I'm working with.
And it's really exciting because we're going to be publishing a little how-to on our website. So that'll be up tomorrow. So if you want to learn how Cassandra did it, she really goes into details. I just read it. It's awesome.
Thanks, man.
I can't Cassandra get into detail.
What, John?
I can't imagine you getting into detail.
I know. What? I like to have informed information.
I
And
watched you paint an alligator today. That was kind of fun.
oh yeah, that one gets even crazier because I just go into detailed fabrics. But yeah, it's fun. I saw another artist, John Walker, last year. He made his own, and I like immediately DM'd him. And this is like a wonderful example of like, if you really like an artist, like try messaging them. Often they'll talk with you. And he was really generous and talked to me about like how he made his ink and gave me tips and tricks. And then I like kept thinking about it all year. And so then walnut season came around again, and I decided I had to make my own this year.
What is the source of the walnut?
Walnuts off the ground in their husk.
And it's just a regular walnut. It's not a black walnut or
We have a ton of black walnut trees here in Richmond, so I use that. And you like just let them sit in their husk till they turn black. I just put them in a pot with the lid on. And then when they're all nice and black, you boil them for 6 hours and pull them out of the husk and mash it and strain it, and then boil it again to condense it down, and then you get some stuff, nice ink and stuff.
so
Wow.
boiling it for 6 hours, you can finally open it up. Because black walnut's a tough bugger.
Yeah, well, once you let it get to like the black soft skin phase, you could stomp on it and pull the nut out.
Gotcha.
But I just ended up boiling the whole nut in the husk whole, and then it just crumbles right apart. It's so easy to pull out. You just have to wear gloves unless you want stained hands for weeks.
Someone said, I bet you can make it in an Instapot.
No, it's true, Rebecca. I think
Really?
you probably could. I didn't want to, I was worried it would stain my Instapot. So
That's what I thought.
I
was
used
like,
my old fermenting pot because I used to homebrew a ton before kids. So I just used that pot because it's what I had lying around.
Gary asks, and I'm going to remind the audience, be sure to select everyone instead of host and panelists when you use the chat. Gary asked, do you think the walnut ink eventually will eat through the paper due to the acidic pH?
I don't know. I mean, they've been making walnut ink for hundreds of years and it's still lasting, but I do have some acrylic matte medium out on a palette here that I can mix in because it does stay water soluble even after it dries. So if I want it to be a little bit more permanent and resistant to water, I could add some acrylic matte medium. But I had like 30 walnuts just picked up off the ground and it ended up yielding 3 cups worth of ink. So I just have like a little bit in a pot so it's easier to tote around, but I have other jars at home, like downstairs.
Wow.
Wow, that's cool.
So that is my geek out moment for y'all. When I can't do other work, I like to be busy. So I made ink.
I've never worked with that. Is there something about the tonality that is really uniquely different than, say, some other inks that you like?
I just really liked the rich sepia tone that
Sepia.
I got from it. And it just made me think of old Renaissance drawings. So
Yeah,
the artist, John Walker, that he had done it and his drawings were beautiful. And I just thought, oh, if I do that, maybe my drawings can look like his. So it was, I wanted to try to figure it out. And I still have a lot to figure it out. I feel very rough with it, but I also got some like old quill nib pens that I'm going to try, but right now I'm doing a lot of it with the brush.
gotcha.
Raquel says, my parents' Instapot is the only one I have access to, and they'd kill me if I used it for walnut ink. Yeah.
You know, you can always go to like a Goodwill and pick up a cheap pot and use it that way for like $3. And you know, like, so you're not destroying anything in the kitchen. I you know, was lucky to have a pot lying around. And if you wash things right away, as long as it's not a non-absorbent thing, whether it's glass or steel, you know, it cleans up pretty well. I didn't have any problems with the cleanup.
When you boil the walnut, do you get a particular smell out of it or
I
not?
read that it can be kind of stinky, but I make so much food and soup and roast Brussels sprouts that the house has smelled way weirder, so it didn't bother me. But there are people who will boil it on their grill or outside because the smell bothers them. But I really didn't find the smell to be that worrisome.
As a kid, we used to get a shipment from my mother's farm. She grew up on a farm in Western Ohio, and still in the family. We get a shipment in Queens of black walnuts, and they would still be in their husks. The husk you could break away, but then there was the black nut inside, tough as nails. And my father would break the vise, break 2 hammers, use some words I learned from him, and he couldn't open them. And he finally put them out on the windowsill because my mother said they stunk so bad she didn't want them in the house. And then we watched the squirrels go up there with one bite, crack, they were in it and it was gone. And they'd eat them all. But they do have a pungent, they're delicious. You gotta acquire that taste. But I imagine it makes a beautiful, like I said, a sepia tone that in your good hands, it looks great. That's a nice one.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was definitely fun to experiment, and it felt good to break away from what I'm doing and to try something different. So I like it. I'm gonna keep it. I've heard the ink can mold. I added a little rubbing alcohol, which some people swear that's how you can do it. Some people say just use gum arabic and clove oil. Like there's a lot of different opinions, but the person I talked to, he used rubbing alcohol and he's had been fine with it, and then just uses some acrylic matte medium, and it's worked well for him. So I'm just going with that, and I'm not trying to do anything big with these. I'm just kind of playing with it now, and I can figure it out more as I try it again and again.
So Timmy, we should have an award for the person who does the best bolts, the neck bolts.
I totally missed your question.
We should have an award for which artist does the best with the neck bolts on Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think Chris Payne is gonna.
I was just gonna say.
I was too.
Good on hardware.
I
I'm
can
gonna work
see-
on them a little bit.
He's
Oh, that's
he's working
amazing.
on them right now.
I've got the head for them.
Oh, Chris, that's awesome.
Yeah, that looks fantastic.
That's a little reminiscent of Jack Davis's Frankenstein too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
good,
yeah.
good call, good call.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. Wow. Anything that reminisces of Jack Davis, there weren't many better.
There's an ink store here in Chapel Hill that has lots of fountain pens and inks and all kinds of accoutrement to work in ink. I should check and see if they have walnut ink. They've got a lot of old inks, that
Yeah, it's really not expensive. You can get a nice bottle for $10. I just liked the challenge of trying to make it. And I had everything I needed. And so it didn't cost me any money. And I ended up with like 3 cups of ink now.
that's cool. How did you boil it for 6 hours?
I boiled mine for like 8 hours. And then I pulled it out of the husk and just threw the husk back in the water and put a lid on it and just let it steep overnight. And then the next morning I drained out the husk through cheesecloth and just squeezed it out and then boiled it again to reduce it for like another hour and a half.
Yeah. God, I'd have to find a lot of time to be home. to
Well,
boil
it's like
something.
you do a step and then you walk away and then you do a step and walk away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot of hands-on work, honestly.
I gotcha.
When you've got, kids lying around, it was kind of an easy activity.
Cassandra, did you also make bread during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, I had a sourdough for sure.
Yeah.
My husband was making fun of me. He was like, "What is this, colonial times? Like, you're not just gonna buy yourself some ink?" So I was making jokes that next up I'm churning butter.
Yeah, we'll have a demo on that as well. Somebody just asked how long these poses are. I think we're coming up on this first pose.
Yeah, we should be wrapping up with this one.
All right, well, let's move on to the second pose then. Right? You want a couple more minutes?
One more minute.
All right, we'll go one more minute and then we're going to encourage you to post your work on Instagram using hashtag illustration isolation and add visual arts passage.
You know what made me think of this? It was talking about the scary stories illustrations.
Oh, yeah.
So Cassandra, Bill was asking me this morning if I got over my fear of The Exorcist.
Uh-huh.
I was considering your opinion that maybe rewatching it wouldn't help me get through the trauma.
Uh-huh.
I watched the trailer for it and I was like, Cassandra's on to something. Definitely not watching this.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I just can't handle it. Like, I like a certain amount of spooky, and that was too spooky for me.
Can't handle it. No, I decided, I was like, oh, I think it's just going to make it. My mom is actually listening and she will probably chime in and be like, I don't want to have to deal with that again, Timmy. Yeah. She can relate how serious it was.
I can't believe you were so young when you watched it. I mean, when I was that age,
No.
The Wizard of Oz scared the crap out of me, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I was in fourth grade. Oof. Yeah.
it's like one of those ideas you're like, I'm going to regret this someday. I don't know it yet, but I'm going to regret it.
I just can't believe I sat through the whole thing. That's what's crazy. I
Me
probably
neither.
frozen in fear.
I would have run screaming, man.
Yeah.
Timmy, were you brought up Catholic?
I was.
Okay.
Oh my.
I-
Lord.
Not so much at home.
Enough said.
Yeah, not so much at home, Terry. But Monday rolled around and I was still very traumatized, like legitimately traumatized. And I went into school and I remember telling a teacher, and my parents had spent the whole weekend just telling me it's not a true, it's it's
Real.
my mom just chimed in and said, I called out the mom to her face for letting them watch it.
I would too. If my kids came home at like having seen that at their friend's house at that age, I'd be livid.
If a teacher had told my kid that stuff was real,
Yeah.
my kid, they'd be
So yeah. So all weekend, my parents were like, it's not real. You don't have to worry about getting possessed by the devil. And I was like, I remember being like, are you just telling me this to make me feel better? And they finally convinced me. And then I went to school and my teacher was like, no, it's very real. Watch out.
Oh my gosh.
God.
And so it was a lot of work for my parents.
One of the
But-
great scenes in The Exorcist, you'll remember it, Tim, is that long stairwell
Yes. You're
that you
talking
would
about the
see
In
crab crawl.
Georgetown.
you would see from below all the way up. It was pretty spooky. That's in the Georgetown area of DC. I spent 2 summers when my brother went to Georgetown, and I was a couple of years younger. He would row, and I spent 2 summers on the Georgetown summer crew, and I had to go down and up those stairs between the dorm and the boathouse, and so I knew them religiously. And then a few years later, I see the movie, and I said, I am never going back on those stairs ever again.
Do you ever hear of a movie called The Spiral Staircase?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was a kid, we were staying at on vacation one time in Lake Tahoe, and there was a spiral staircase there. And I had just seen the preview to that movie somehow. And there was no way I'm never going up those stairs,
You
Hey,
walk miles out of the way.
Hey, everybody, we're on the 40th minute of our 20-minute pose.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Let's move on. All right.
Yeah.
So if you're drawing with us, please share your work. If this is your first time joining, I really cannot recommend this highly enough. We're going to check out everyone's work at the end of the night. So go to Instagram and use hashtag illustration isolation and at visual arts passage. And we'll check it out at into the night. All levels of experience are encouraged. We've got people of all ages and experience, so don't be shy. Please share your work.
Who's number 2?
I'm having a hard time leaving Frankenstein.
It looks great, John.
That's-
God, that's fantastic.
Just so everybody
yeah.
does, just so everybody does, I'm really going to encourage the panel to move on to the next image. Be
Well, I'm on to number 2.
leaders.
I watched part of The Invisible Man about a week ago.
God reigns.
Yeah, and I was getting too tired, so I had to go to sleep. But I want to get back to it. I love the makeup, or whatever, the bandages and the glasses, the goggles,
Oh yeah, that's cool.
and so I did a little painting of him, and I did it in 2 colors. Well, it was a colored matte board, but I did it in a light blue. So like if you turn it at a certain angle, he sort of disappears, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to getting back to watching the rest of that. When I was a kid, there was the I think it was a show with David McCallum as the Invisible Man.
Remember that one.
Jeff brought up a question that I must have missed for Chris Payne. How are you pushing your shapes around? I'm assuming this is in reference to your Frankenstein.
Well, I mean, it's when you look at shapes, I mean, I'm a firm believer that, like when you're drawing the human figure and there's a pose, there's a gesture, what I call a gesture to that pose. And I think all of us who have been in gesture drawing, we understand that. And I believe faces themselves have a gesture to it. So, going back to the shape of Karloff's head, obviously the top of his head, where they added all the extra stuff, was where it started. And then it's the placement. I really focus mostly on the silhouette almost. How do I can push that shape of the silhouette while maintaining what I call shape integrity? If I can get that shape right, and if I look at that shape and I can see his face in that shape, then I have a starting point. And then it's just a matter of then within the north, south, east, west. I think I did that once before on a drawing demo. Once you get the north, south, east, and west, then you can start placing things inside the shape. Right now we're drawing Lugosi now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, all I have to do is, where his eyes are, if I get the shape of his head, the silhouette of the shape of his head, and I really want to play off his ears a little bit because he did have good ears, then it's a matter of, okay, where do his eyes go? Well, look at where his ears are. His ears are way up above his head. So, move those eyes down. People have a tendency just to automatically think, well, eyes sort of belong parallel to, or even with the head. Well, it depends on where the head is, how it's tilted and things like that. So as long as I get that gesture of that shape there, then things happen inside the shape that I then can play with. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. If it does, tell Timmy it does. And if not, I'll try again.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But it really is, I mean, I just hearken it back to figure drawing class and getting the gesture of the figure right.
I think the thing too, Chris, is you spend a lot of time drawing, I'm sure, and have spent a lot of time drawing. So you've drawn things very straightly, you've cartooned things, you've pushed things around. So
Yeah, and I've studied, I mean, again, when I was young, one of my heroes, we mentioned him before, with Jack Davis. I mean, geez. I mean, Jack and Mort Drucker, they were just so incredibly good. And then, of course, then later on, you get into other people who focus on caricature and humor, and you see what they do. And you learn from observation. And yeah, again, when you're 67 years old and you've drawn as much as I have every day, after a while, you're supposed to get pretty good at it. Again, there's reasons why, John has seen me play tennis. I stink at it, but, I still try. But if I maybe had played more tennis instead of drawn so much, I'd be a better tennis player.
we should play tennis together, because I played with my son on Sunday, and he just kept saying, maybe we should just hit the ball back and forth.
Yeah, it's funny. It was weird. I was playing tennis. I've been playing tennis at this club for quite a while. And not that long ago, this guy's playing tennis next to me. I'm going, that dude looks so familiar. And I walked up to him and said, is your name Brian? Yeah, you're Chris, right? Yeah. Well, we were roommates in an apartment 45 years ago.
Oh my
The
God.
first time I had
Wow.
seen him in 45 years. And, you know, he was a real good tennis player then. And, oh, guess what? At 66, 67 years old, he is still a super tennis player.
Yeah,
And I am not.
no, I'm not either. But I at least hit the ball enough times back that my son didn't get completely disgusted with me. So that was just my goal.
I kind of figure I paid for the entire racket, so I hit the ball with the entire racket. You know, half of it's off the frame, half of it's off, you know.
We've got a follow-up question though, Chris.
Yeah.
So it does make sense. And
Thank you.
are there any artists you recommend to study for this besides yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of really good people out there. I mean, and you'll see them online. I mean, obviously, Jason Seiler has just been killing it lately. He's
Oh,
he's
yeah.
terrific.
Yeah.
There's this guy Vanderbeek, I think is his, you know, and there's some other people on Instagram and Facebook I see. I'm trying to think who else.
Flu Hardy?
There's some old timers whose work that I really like, who stylize shape a great deal. Miguel Covarrubias was one of them, and he gets almost geometric at times in very interesting shapes. And Paolo Giretto, I think what you want to do is don't tie yourself down to, you know, one person who does it. You know, there's an entire history. Philip Burke, of course, is just amazing.
Thomas Flu Hardy. Take a look at him. You guys know
Pardon?
Thomas Flu Hardy.
Thomas
That's
Flu
what I was
Hardy.
gonna say
kills
next.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, Thomas Fleury is fantastic.
Thomas is brilliant. Let's see, who else? I don't know how much is, you know, Roberto Parada was doing, you know, some really great kind of what I call caricature, but I think he's been going more realistic lately, but, you know, he's super talented. You know, back in the day, but I think he's doing more abstract painting. Dan Adele was just
Oh,
superb. And so, you know, some of these folks, you'll find them online. And of course, one of the all-time legends back in the 70s and the 80s was David Levine.
yeah.
He had just wonderful shaping.
Steve Rodner.
Steve Rodner is just crushes it. Ed Sorrell. I mean, that's the thing with these guys. There's just so many of them, and they're so good. But you just don't want. I look at all of them.
My favorite drawers working now is John Cuneo. Love
Yeah.
it.
John's wonderful. Yeah. Another guy is come on, Joe Chiardello.
Fantastic.
Hmm.
If you're gonna
Philip
mention-
Burke,
you mentioned those guys, you got to bring up Unruh.
yeah.
Well, Jack, yeah, absolutely.
Philip Burke has been posting some drawings lately, along with the paintings he's been doing. Those are just dynamite.
Yeah, I have one of his drawings that, you know, I keep. I'm really fond of. It's a drawing of Sparky Anderson. I have behind me on my wall a painting I had Philip do with my kids.
I can top that, Chris.
Yeah.
I got on my wall a painting you did of my dad.
It's a good one too.
Well, but it's not 4 feet by 6 feet.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't need to be.
Mhm.
Size doesn't matter.
There were two fascinating events that happened at the Society of Illustrators involving portraits, as you're saying. One was when you were president, as you went out of office, you could ask somebody to do your portrait, and no one would say, no, I'm too busy, I can't do it. The other is if you chair the annual show, when the book came out, you could ask somebody to do your portrait for publication in that book. They were always thrilled to do it, a little bit of exposure. But I think a lot of these portraits you're talking about, where you're being done by friends or people you wouldn't have otherwise asked. You get some absolutely fascinating results. Is that, Chris, why you did Mark?
No,
No, what did I do? Did I don't,
Or
Mark,
just a demonstration?
yeah.
you didn't even do it as a demo. You
Yeah,
did
it was just a sketch I did, and well, because I had been down there for a little extra time, and the guys had, I think, John, you had to go back to Kansas City for a little bit. I had this photograph. So I was playing around up by St. Ormond Circle having lunch, and I did this sketch and cracked me up. I thought it was pretty funny. And I said, I wonder if I could do this. And I showed it to Sterling. And Sterling's response to it was, "It's been nice knowing you." And I showed it to John, and John said, "You have got to finish this."
Yeah.
And so I took it home, finished it, and sent it to him. And then, John, you let everybody see the results while your dad was doing a demo, wasn't that it?
Well, actually, they played a big joke on me, is because you did another one of me.
Yep.
And I didn't know you did. You made you made me take my dad out and stand next to him in the sun and keep moving him around to get the photo reference, standing in the parking lot. And you were taking pictures of me.
Yep.
I'm moving them all around, getting it right. And so we presented it. And I was so excited to see, to present it. And we were going to, have a big laugh with my dad. And I couldn't see the painting, and everybody's just laughing. And it was the demo you did of me, or the painting you did of me. And then we pulled out the one of my father after that. It was fantastic. It was so much fun.
That's so great.
And then my father had a retort, and my dad did not do caricature, but he thought about what Chris did, and he did a caricature of Chris. And
It's hanging right over there. It's hanging right over there. And it pissed me off because it's like, Mark, this is supposed to be hard to do. And he killed it. He just killed it. And like you said, he doesn't do that, but he just killed it.
Hey, everyone, I just want to give you, this is the 6-minute warning. on
Okay.
this.
Well, thank you for that.
Oh, Chris, I love how you squished his face up.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love Bela.
We were drawing John Aston this morning, and
Oh, yeah.
Oh, delightful.
his head is like a balloon, it's just
With ears.
a very round balloon.
very round balloon, yeah. But
I always
Yeah.
love that line of Bela's in this. Listen to the wolves, children of the night. What music they make.
I love, there's a George Hamilton movie called Love at First Bite.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where he goes, "Children of the night, shut up."
Yeah, that movie is fun.
That's a great movie.
But that whole, the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi, I mean, there were others before, but that movie is just so beautifully filmed. And I love the characters, Eric von Sloan, all the various characters, David Manners, and that little guy who plays the kind of the male nurse of the sanatorium just cracks me up. And of course, Dwight Fry as Renfield.
Yes.
Do you remember the Leslie Nielsen movie, Dracula, Dead and Loving It?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, totally. The Mel Brooks one.
Was it Mel Brooks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Neither.
I like Vampire's Kiss also.
That's with Cage.
Yeah, he thinks he's turning into a vampire.
Yeah, he's a book editor in New York. I love that movie.
Is he not, though? Or is that part of the story? You don't know.
Yeah, he's just going nuts.
Oh.
That is a good movie, though.
Jennifer Beals is the woman.
I just started, somebody just mentioned this. I just started watching What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes,
Really great vampire show.
Yeah.
love it.
I just watched the episode where they go to city council. And I love that there's the character that's the energy vampire. He doesn't suck blood, he sucks energy out of people
Yes.
with like boring conversations.
I
you
feel
see
like there's some people where you feel like that might be what they are.
Oh
Did
my
you see the
God.
one? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say there was one where he meets a woman who's also an energy vampire.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
That it's
Exciting.
hilarious.
Did you see the one where they go in front of the vampire council for the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so behind. I'm so late to it. Everybody's been telling me to watch it forever. And
Oh, good. Well, enjoy. I'm not going to say
Two
anything.
episodes in.
It's just so
Good.
fun.
Yeah. I like the what is it? The reincarnation of her her lover.
Oh, I like the Naja doll. Yeah, I've seen the movie. Did you guys ever see the movie?
I did. That's Taika Waititi, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've not seen the movie yet.
Oh, he's such a great director. I mean, he's an awesome director, but I think he's my favorite director actor.
Oh, yeah. Like he's so almost a surrealist in action because the way he switches train of thought and the way things go, it's just all over the place. But like I love it. I get it. I'm all about it.
I don't know that there's another director who's as artful as him that is also as comedic as him with
Mhm.
but that's also like I heard somebody describe that as like New Zealand humor, which is like a New Zealand humor joke is like, oh, it's a funny hat you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like the joke is just a very there's just something the temperament of it and the delivery. It's so much delivery and like dry humor. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I saw this TikTok video and it was hilarious because it was just this New Zealand guy talking about like a really scary fire or something. And he was like, y'all, this is Borg in real life, from Thor Ragnarok. And he was just talking. He was just like, yeah, there was this fire, eh? It was super scary, but like it sounded exactly like him. But because he was so dry and just straightforward, he didn't sound scared. It just sounded like he was talking about an everyday occurrence.
Right.
Yeah, he's an incredible creator. I also, if you like that stuff, I just watched, somebody just mentioned Reservation Dogs, which is so good. Oh my God, I love that.
Did you watch Arlington Paranormal at all?
I did. I loved that.
Yes.
You guys could probably all hear that was the timer that just went off. So
Who do I draw next? Wolfman or
time to move on to our well, yeah, I would say if we're doing a 45-minute pose, it's time to move on to our last long pose.
I'm going to disappoint you, Timmy. I'm not going to because I stopped drawing halfway through the last one every time. I'm just going to finish drawing.
Yeah. So everybody else is going to move on except for John.
I have to prepare for the
Yeah, it's part of your responsibilities as the Instagrammer. That is fine. Somebody asked, no, it's called Reservation Dogs, the show, not Reservoir.
Yeah.
It's a play on Reservoir Dogs, I think.
I like your Dracula though, John. That's looking really cool.
John, Bill, yours is super fun too.
Oh, thank you. I wish I had cartooned it, a little bit more, just squished him. I may do another one.
Squishing is fun.
Squishing and stretching and
I feel like mine ended up looking like Eddie Munster.
They look Rosie as a
Well,
child.
I think it's great. It reminds me a little bit of Mark Chiarello's work too.
I forgot about Jim Bennett. Don't forget Jim Bennett.
That's a really beautiful one, Cassandra.
Oh, thanks.
Tim, excuse me, Chris, do you remember? I've heard you say it more than once. You were talking about doing caricatures. Somebody was asking you, how do you distort your character? And you described it like, think of the head as a balloon.
Yeah.
You're going to squish part of it. It's got that part that you squish. Whatever you squish has to go somewhere else. I thought that was a great description.
Well, what you're basically saying is, because see, what happens a lot of times, people, when they figure, okay, I'll make his nose big. And so then you make the nose big and everything else is the same. Well, that's what you try to do is you say, there's a certain amount of mass. And if I'm going to make the nose big, something else has to then reduce, so that you have the contrast between what you made big and what you've reduced. And so it's, like I said, it's, if you just think about it in those terms, because it's like in a painting, you can make something redder by not adding red. What you do is by making what's around it more neutral. Well, same thing works with caricature. You don't have to just make a nose big or ears big. Sometimes it's a matter of reducing something else that gives the illusion that you've made it big, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Chris, I love the way you use that phrase, making sense. It's so Marshall Arisman. Am I making
Oh, I
sense?
use that. It's so funny you say that.
You know, we're talking about using the distortion technique. You don't think of him as a caricaturist, but the Rockwell Museum has all of his old photographs, and they've often done little sidebars in process where they show the photographs and they show Rockwell posing the kid or posing the model, where he's stretching himself out as far as he can, and actually, because he couldn't touch him even then, trying to make them extort their size, nose, whatever. And then in the final, he does it even more. And so that's a technique that even if you use photographic reference, you can use, as you guys are doing right now with your photographic reference.
Absolutely, absolutely. We could see that, how Rockwell did that. Because he's, he had a photographer he was working with. And so Rockwell was acting almost like Spielberg. He's the director who's directing the scene and letting the guy, just giving the person advice on what he's wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
his name came up, Rockwell's name came up in the letters to the editor on the op-ed page of the New York Times today. And it was a woman who runs a secondhand furniture store, a Goodwill, a Salvation Army, where she makes furniture available to people in need. And she says, don't send us your broken plates, your broken furniture. Don't send us your torn and stained clothes. Don't send us shoes that are worn out. And don't send us Norman Rockwell plates. No one wants them. And I thought, how sad to use Norman Rockwell's name in that context. But
Yeah.
Any press is good press. They spelled his name right.
Yes. I'm not going to editorialize. I've been hearing that crap about Rockwell for so long from the high-end societies. It's been going on forever. Rockwell's not a real artist. All that rubbish.
Hey, you want to name the artist who sold more in dollar value this year than any other artist by a factor of, I think, 4 American artists? Norman Rockwell. American.
Well, again, I remember back in the day when I think it was the Guggenheim had a big Rockwell show way back, one of the major museums.
Definitely was the Guggenheim, yep.
So they got the Rockwell show, and so they were perfectly happy to sell out the show, have thousands of people come in and walk into their gift shop and spend thousands of dollars on their stuff. But, yeah, so they understood.
Yep.
His work is amazing. I mean, looking at it in person, it just put me even more in awe. I don't understand like why people want to draw such a hard line in the sand about that.
Well, I think it has to do with a lack of education and a lack of awareness in what it's like to be a working artist, what it's like to make your living doing something. And
Yeah, but some of those attitudes come from education at art schools who will literally tell you you should not paint or draw like Norman Rockwell.
Mhm.
yeah,
I mean, they spent, again, I had to deal with this at my school where, I went to my chair and because one of the teachers was making comments to that effect to students. And I'm like, well, what if I were to go up to our students and tell them, you shouldn't try to paint like Picasso? All he cared about was fame and getting laid. What if I said that? And he said, if you said that, I'd fire you. And I said, well, then why did these people get to say the kind of crap that they say about Rockwell?
Mm.
It just drives me nuts. They're allowed to just really rip on him and give long dissertations on why they hate Rockwell.
right. Well, having a formal education doesn't mean that
Right.
you have the problem with a lot of what I'm finding with a lot of fine art education is that you're dealing with people who went through an academic system. They never left that system. They were then they taught as as master students, and they've never actually had to go out and earn a living from their work. They've maybe had shows that were, they've gotten a lot of help from the university or whatever, but they don't have, they have very narrow opinions about what art is. And I've heard people, I remember hearing people saying that the artist Jim Dine, that his work wasn't sentimental and that it was very calculated and technical. His drawings of tools, for those of you who don't know Jim Dine's work, I'm sure a lot of you guys do. But then I read later that all those tools were tools that belonged to his dad. And so I think there's a certain kind of over intellectualizing of quote unquote fine art and putting it up, trying to give it a higher status than, work done for publications or work that, commissions and stuff.
Well, I just like go back to it's schools will go through and they make these kind of platitudes that are just, I think, just overgeneralized and make these sweeping comments that I just don't accept them. I mean, for example, okay, what's the greatest movie ever made? Everybody says in classes, what do all film schools say is the greatest movie ever made?
Oh yeah.
It's always Citizen Kane.
Mhm.
It's always that. And I'm sorry, I don't even think Citizen Kane is Orson Welles' best movie. But it's okay for somebody, just Tim and we go back and forth on our opinions of movies.
Mhm.
But
It's my
to just
favorite thing
simply-
about disagreeing with you, Chris, is my favorite part of our friendship.
Yeah, and that's mine. And
Yeah.
I love dishing it out to you, and you love it
Yeah.
back.
Well, it's a good spar. I know it's always going to be a good sparring session with you, Chris. I had one thing though. I was listening to what you were saying because that is interesting. You brought into the foray of film school and stuff, which is relatable for me. I can't weigh in on the opinion of the illustrators or artists, but I do think sometimes there's a psychology that does occur with something like that, where it's the person's opinion that is so disruptive is really like, it's a social capital to say, I know something that you don't know.
Yes.
And I'm the only person who knows it, or I am of a small group of people who know it. And I've seen a lot of people go into like kind of dead end arguments where I don't even know if they really believe it. They just want to be they just know it's edgy enough to get a lot of attention, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Um,
tell you, I heard more than one conversation where an artist, half in their cups perhaps, said, I'm not a real artist. No one likes my work. No one, galleries don't want to take me on, and they don't think I'm a real artist. And then I say, where do you live? Well, I live out in Westport. Says, what do you got up there? Well, I got 4 bedrooms. I got the barn with the studio, and I got a nice patio, and the pool's good. And what do you drive? Oh, well, I just got a brand new Cadillac. I say, you're a successful artist. Think of it that way. You're a successful artist, and it's a lot of gallery artists don't have that. And sometimes I'm thinking, again, I'm not an artist guy, so you tell me I'm full of it, you're right. But to accept what you do as a commercial artist is filling your clients' needs. And I got to bust out. There's one thing that I thought was really cool. There's a show in New York at the Poster House. It's a new museum. I think it might be run by SVA. And they just had a show with the Pushpin Group. Milton Glaser, Ed Sorrell, it was mentioned, and Seymour Quast. And I'll leave you with this: when you think you're an artist or not, being a cross between a really good, successful illustrator living in a nice house and putting his kids through school, and the gallery artist. Seymour Quast said, "As long as I take care of the client's needs, I can be as outrageous or as unexpected as I want." So he knows what comes first is the client, because they pay the bills. And after that, as the artist, you want to be unexpected, outrageous, creative. Well, then we're going to get you on this show that's now in its 82nd episode. Thanks, gang, for having me. I'm going to bust out.
That's
Yeah,
great.
good luck.
Thanks a
Good luck
lot.
with
Good to
your
see you,
next show.
Terry.
Bye-bye.
take care.
So on the topic of like best films and best artwork or whatever, I was thinking we've never asked this question before, but if you could have any single piece of artwork to hang up in your house, so not just like have, but you're gonna put it on the wall and you're gonna keep it, what would it be? Go around the room.
I need to think. That's a really good question.
Well, there's 2 pieces by Richard Davencorn that come to my mind right off the top of my head.
If you can think of the name, I'll Google it and share it.
Hang on.
I would probably be a Vermeer.
What was that, Chris?
Whoa, that's a
Vermeer.
good one.
Like I think he has a piece called The Astronomer or The Geographer or something like that by Vermeer.
Geographer.
Geographer or Astronomer, I can't remember what the title is. One of the nice things about having a Vermeer is you can actually hang it because they're relatively small pieces, as opposed to trying to hang.
I would
brush
think,
up.
Chris, is there's several that I would like. Yeah. Guernica would be nice, but it's a little, I'd have to get a new house. But of course, if I owned it, I could afford a new house.
Chris, is this it?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I've got some good news for you. If you go to icanvas.com, you can buy this for $29.
Timmy, there's
Your dream can come true tonight, Chris.
hilarious.
Bill,
Yeah, well, there's 3 Davencorns, but if I had to, which are hard to. There's
Yeah,
3
you
or
gotta
4
pick
portraits of women. There's one called Woman Sleeping. There's another one of a woman drinking coffee or just coffee.
Which one are you going with, though? Which one's yours?
I would say Woman Sleeping. So a woman in a blue dress, kind of with her head over. It's probably his wife. I remember watching his daughter talk, and she's like, "That's my mom. She was probably falling asleep at the time." Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. That original background behind her, when he first painted it, was all red. That red that's behind her
Really?
back. I don't know, that painting just gets me, you know. Or I love that she's in the mirror, and
Mhm.
there's a lot to it. Vermeer wouldn't be too bad either, I've got to say.
Well, I just figure come the day if I need to resell it, it would sell well.
Yeah, it would do okay.
It wouldn't suck. Oh, John, I love the Dracula. I love where you've gone with that.
Thanks.
That's fantastic.
See.
John,
Oh,
Cassandra,
yeah.
have you come up with yours?
So tough. Gosh, I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, I would love so many pieces. Like I love, right now I'm kind of obsessed with this Butler's work. She does these quilted portraits, and she uses like African patterned fabric and does these just gorgeous, gorgeous pieces. And she just did this Questlove piece. I think it was for Time magazine. And I was like all about that. So like if I went more of our time period, I want to visit Butler quilts. I really love the Questlove one right now. Or if I wanted to go to the Renaissance, I really love William Larkin's work. He does these beautiful fabrics and portraits, and I love the setting. So I just have trouble picking what one. It's just so many.
Well, that is the
How do you
deal.
How do you spell Butler's first name?
Bisa.
There's a giant painting of a horse, big white horse on a dark background that I really like too.
That's by Mark English.
That's it. That's the one.
Okay, is that right, Cassandra?
Yeah, and so the hair is done with beads,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
like all of that is fabric. There is no paint in that at all. It's just fabric and beads.
That's crazy.
And so she just overlaps different colored fabrics and sews it on, and just it's these beautiful quilts. So I've just been staring at that lately.
Cool.
But I think you're right. All these things can be depending on eras, because I mean, golly, by taking Vermeer, that means you're turning your nose up at Van Gogh. If I'm doing this, I'm turning my nose up at J.C. Leindecker.
Right. Because I was like, oh, I just, there's all the big illustrators who I love, and I just love to geek out on all the details of those. I just couldn't. It's hard to nail down, but I think like currently this week I've been obsessed with that piece.
Yeah.
Well, John, while you think of your artwork, we've got a complaint from none other than Devin LeBlanc, which is not to be that person, but that is a reference of Bela Lugosi as Count Mora, not Dracula. Devin, just so you know, in the
Devin,
future,
do you like being here?
yeah.
I was going to say, is there an eject button?
Devin, just so you know, in the future, that is a panelist and host message. Yeah.
Hey, Devin, where do you live again?
Yeah, Devin, geez. Wow.
That's all right.
It's all right.
I love it.
Read the room, Devin.
It's funny, like you were talking about cartooning and drawing things, etc. I don't really have to think much when I'm drawing something representationally. Sometimes I do, but if I'm drawing with a pen and I'm trying to get something down, that comes more easily to me than trying to cartoon something. I really have to think a lot, as to what I'm going to stretch and what I'm going to push. And It's just a muscle that I haven't worked as much as I would have liked. And I think that that's really any approach that you take, you know, the more you do it,
Sure.
it's gonna, you know, I can draw, I can cartoon out of my head, you know, that's a whole different thing. But like doing a caricature of somebody that really looks like them, and
Well, I was doing all my teachers in school.
yeah.
Hey, we've got Montalvo here.
I know,
Hey,
so-
Montalvo.
Hey, hi all. How you doing?
Doing good, sir. Good to hear from you.
I was here since the beginning, but I was working
Oh.
in a different job. It was just finished.
Well, thanks for letting us know.
Welcome.
Glad you.
I thought I was in a couple of times. I tried to say something, but it just, well, let me just finish this and I'll get back to the guys.
We had you blocked.
Okay, Timmy, I have my artwork.
Yeah, what is it?
I don't know the title of it, but Chris, I think everybody
Maybe if you describe it.
I
Yeah.
know the painting. It's a painting by John Singer Sargent of a staircase in Morocco.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's one of the coolest paintings I've ever seen.
Oh, the staircase. That's an amazing painting.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
love that painting.
those grays. I mean, boy, does he get the grays right.
I love that painting so much. But I would be true to my team. There's some things by, well, to be honest with you, I have some things I really like, but that are some of my favorite things. But there's a couple Heindels and Fuchses I would put right up there with anybody's.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is the
gosh, yeah.
is the staircase your final? It's your final offer? It's your
Yeah, but that's, no, that's yeah, but that's like a reality. I mean, there's no reality to that. The Heindels and the Fuchses, there's a reality to, and I'm closer to it, to those things. So
John, you know my Mark English.
Is this it?
the chicken lady,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great painting.
that's the painting. I love that painting.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
what's funny
really
is
cool.
that
Yep.
on Google Images, the tone, the color of it, there's like 8 different colors to
Yeah.
it. Like, I don't know what people do, but John, yours is a bit more expensive on iCanvas.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
what,
couple $100.
wow.
Yeah. We should get sponsored by iCanvas.
We should.
Yeah.
I think Terry, or we blew that earlier with our discussion of painters.
Yeah, you can't do that if you have iCanvas as a sponsor. I tried to salvage it, but no. You know what we haven't talked about tonight that we should have brought up sooner, which is really cool, is we've got a new class. We've got a new class announcement. Bill Kobe is instructing comics and sequential art with us. It's going to be a mini course that's kicking off this November. And not only is Bill teaching it, but Vanessa Del Rey is going to be a guest speaker. So I think that's pretty cool.
It'll be
That'd
a
be
lot of fun.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm in the middle. Well, this morning I was writing a blog post and I got so caught up in it that I get this message from Timmy, like, are you coming to drawing? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And I've been working on it for a while.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for like several months now.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll learn about panel storytelling, you know, drawing scenes, how to develop characters. You'll end up, if you do the work, you'll end up with 3 pages of finished art and lots of practice making, you know, telling stories, both your own and interpreting other people's stories. So even if you're interested in filmmaking or children's books, a lot of the things that I'll be talking about are applicable to that. And so yeah, check it out. And if you have questions, don't hesitate.
Yeah, I just dropped a link. I just dropped a link to it in the chat. But yeah, we're really excited about it. It'll be fun.
Thanks. Man,
I just figured I had to bring it up since I was like, oh yeah, we don't have any sponsors.
watch for ourselves.
Montalvo, it's great to have you back in the room.
Well, thank you. I've been really, overwhelmed with work.
What were you working
They're
on?
sucking the life out of me.
What were you working on tonight?
It's a really, like boring work. It's retouching. The company that I work on is a video producer, and they have joined the game thing like 2 or 3 years ago, and that's probably what saved us all during the pandemic, because games is just something that you can do remotely, everyone in the team, and this is one of the business that really didn't come down during the pandemics, so we could do a lot of stuff. But whatever came to me was not the most challenging thing ever. It was just 3D retouching and some lots of repetitive work. So I'm not really excited about it, but it's just keeping me alive and paying the bills for a while.
That's a good
That
thing.
is good.
Yeah.
Paying bills is good. Paying bills is good.
Yeah.
So being alive.
So, are they playing football down there now?
What's that?
Are they playing football at home?
Not that I know, but
They're not able to play football yet.
no. It's just just crazy, war games mostly.
No, but I mean, as far as in Brazil, are they playing football now?
Oh yeah, they are, and they did, in the middle of the pandemics. So it's just crazy people here. Good to be back with you guys. I was really missing being here with you.
Good to have you here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
thought
like your car post that you did recently.
Oh yeah, you like that?
Yeah, those are cool. Especially like the motorcycle.
That was something that I did, I think it was March and April, but only now they released it. So I couldn't show it anything from that piece before. That was a tough one.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, Chuck was my well, he was my first MFA student 23 or 24 years ago.
he's endorsing your class.
John, you're supposed to try to sell the classes, remember?
No, that's a positive endorsement.
Yeah. Chuck came to me and he was working on a graphic novel, and he studied with me. He studied with Gary Amaro. It's great. He'd already been working as an illustrator and a graphic designer.
Bill, what is your favorite part of like making comics?
Well, there's a lot of different parts, but I like the beginning part of it, when I can, I start to see it in my head as like a movie, but a sort of a stills of a movie. And I start to put down the thumbnails for that. And I feel like it's getting out of my head and into some kind of tangible form. And because everything's possible at that point, you know, it's all potential. And then down the road, I like when I finish every time I finish a page, and I start to accumulate pages done, that feels great too. So I guess that's a two-part answer. But the very beginning of it, it's all, you know, and I'm going to be talking about that in the blog post. It's all potential. It's all like, this can be anything. This could be a very fast moving story. This could be a very slow story. We can be inside the character's head. It can be external. There's all of these different ways that you can go. And then once you start to put, you know, I start to put down my thumbnails, it gets a life of its own. And so I like that part a lot. But I also like talking to other creative people and learning more about how they tell stories, and whether they be writers or artists or filmmakers, etc.
What's your like favorite? Are you drawn more to like, I guess, traditional comics or graphic novels? I've never asked you that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like both. I mean, there's graphic novels that I love, you know, but lately I've been rereading a lot of horror comics, which I was never into when I was younger, but I've sort of gotten more into now. There's a great adaptation of Dante's Inferno by an artist named Pablo Aludel that I really love, and I have another one by this artist named Jippy called The Outsiders that I like. I love what Vanessa does. I like what Joelle Jones is doing. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a 3-issue series by Elisa Whitney called Mystic You that's a lot of fun. And then, you know, I like a lot of the things that came out, you know, 35 years ago, like Electra Assassin and The Dark Knight and things like that. But
Somebody asked a good question. What's the difference between comics and graphic novels?
that is a great question. I don't know if I'm the best person to answer it, because I think of it in terms of packaging, you know, and who your audience is. I mean, I think generally most people think comics is like the monthly books that come out, and then graphic novels is like more serious single issue stories, you know, single book stories.
I was gonna say marketing strategy.
Right, exactly. No, I agree. I definitely agree with that, because
I'm sure there's a very compelling difference, and you know, I know people can probably, like Bill, you noted quite a few things that do tend to differentiate them.
yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I thought of them as graphic novels, like, oh, that's, you know, that's what I want to do. But I think of them all as comics. I think of graphic novels as comics. I think of it depends. If it's a collection of old Jack Kirby comics that are put into a package, is that now a graphic novel? Because you've taken the serialized thing, and it's like, what's the difference between a serialized book novel, you know, a serialized story in a science fiction magazine, and a novel, you know? And it has to do with how it's presented, I think.
It's great because I I never know if like it's just like calling something a comic book is out and now it's called a graphic novel, or if there is a difference and you're supposed to call out some things comic books and some things graphic novels.
Somebody said this a long time ago, and I kind of agree with it. They said it's the media with the dumbest name. You know,
Yeah.
it's like what's the difference between a film and a movie?
Yeah. Yeah, Bill, because I was going to ask you, don't you think, and similarly to the difference between film and movie, don't you think that, and I'm not saying that this is my opinion, but don't you think mainstream opinion is that a graphic novel is more highbrow than a comic book?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Similarly to a film is higher brow than
Yeah.
like a movie, right?
Yeah, and I think that's no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the thing is, it's like a lot of writers and directors and creators or whatever forget to infuse some kind of sense of humor in their work. And I've been finding that the things I like the most have some semblance of humor in them, because humor is completely character driven. You know, people do things, they make mistakes, and then those things come back on them because of their choices. And I was trying to watch this film series on I think it's on Netflix. It's like a science fiction series. I can't remember the name of it. Oak Films or something. And there's no humor in it, you know.
Oh, you're talking about Blumhouse's Oat Studios?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to watch it, and I don't want to knock anything somebody likes, but I watched the first one and then I tried to watch the second one. It was like completely humorless. And there was literally no character development.
That's really, you know what? It felt a lot like Love, Death, and Robots, which I loved.
Yeah.
Loved that. I think
That's really awesome.
Yeah, Montalvo, you liked that as well?
Yeah, I loved it.
And I agree, Bill. I liked some of Oat Studios. I think a couple of the shorts were good, but a few of them left me kind of just disengaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I love the Coen brothers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even the darkest, most serious Coen brothers, there is some sense of human beings making mistakes and causing their own problems.
Really, really bad mistakes.
Really, really bad mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, what's your point, Dan? and that, I think, I'm finding, at least as someone who is interested in plot, that's all about character, and I love that, you know. So
that's really interesting. And since, you know, what I've always, I don't know if I know a lot of people on the panel have read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Do you remember the opening scene in the book? It's what's wild about it is it's as if she was writing it to be filmed.
Yeah.
The scene that she sets, it's like you imagine it with I imagine the panel or the set. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
But written, it doesn't read like a normal book. It looks like she's giving, she's describing it to a director of photography.
Oh, yeah.
I highly recommend grabbing that first chapter and like reading it. It's really interesting.
I've actually never read it, but now I want to.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not that I didn't want to before, I just hadn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth just picking up and reading the first one because it's like the most visual depiction. I've never read a book that old and been like, wow, they really she really wrote it for like a visual person.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can see that. I think she was on laudanum when she was writing that book too. So that might have something to do with why
Is that a hallucinogen? What?
What-
What was that? That
I
she
said,
was.
I think she was on hallucinogenics when she wrote that.
Oh, really?
Um,
I didn't know that.
that's how the story goes, but
Yeah.
no, I don't, I'm kind of joking, but no, I know exactly what you mean. Well, here's an example, like, okay, Gary Kelly's children's books, okay,
Yeah.
like the Harlem Hellfighters, or I have Bosch, Blobber, Bosch, and or any of the books that he's done, you know, those are, you know, quote unquote children's books. But so is Go Dog Go. And
Yeah.
I love Go Dog Go, but it's
Yeah.
not, what's that?
It's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so but I love making comics, you know.
Yeah.
I'm working on one right now. I'm writing characters. I'm trying to work on my writing chops and studying as much as I can about that. And I'm hoping to collect all the little shorts that I've done into a book at some point in the near future, probably next year, with some new stuff. And people will be seeing me working on things that, you know, are not just done for the class, they're my own work.
That's great.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. Oh, Montalvo, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Damn,
man.
you got there fast too.
Wow.
You know, I'm really, you know, I wanted to be back here, so I think I got some accumulated energy.
That is really,
From
really
week.
cool.
I just couldn't wait to get back here, man. Just doing boring stuff for weeks.
Yeah. So what Montalvo's doing too, like that could be a panel in a comic book, right? As it is, you know, because it's a character with an emotion. It doesn't have to be completely finished. And you can offset that against some other type of panel with other, you know, another approach.
You know, you were talking about, you know, comics and you know, all the process and thumbnails and things. And, you know, it was crossing my mind, just it's probably the same process that we do when we're doing storyboards for a commercial, for a TV commercial or a movie.
Yeah.
Just planning what parts of the story will be visually interesting to become storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And you're picking beats, you know, like, and especially if you're working with a writer, you're trying to interpret. It's not just copying every panel that the writer puts down, you know, it's a relationship. So you're trying to like find a solution that gets across their point. And sometimes that means leaving something out that they've done. Sometimes that means adding something else. But I love the fact that comics are not a passive media. And I think in a lot of ways, movies are passive media, because you can sit there and watch a movie and it's just like, it'll unfold in front of you. You see everything, you get everything. You've got it, like, you know what the characters sound like in comics. You know, they sound different to you than they do to somebody else. So you have to, something George Pratt said, you know, has said many times, is that it's as much work as you can make the viewer do, you know, the more invested they're going to be. And
Oh, that's really interesting.
It's really true, though. I mean, I remember, this is going to seem like really random, but Keira Knightley was getting a lot of flack for playing Elizabeth Benning in Pride and Prejudice. And she's like, I'm not offended. She's like, because everybody just kept saying, that's not my Lizzie, because you read the book and you see the character a certain way because you played it out in your head, and then you see somebody else's interpretation and it doesn't always sync up.
right, exactly. And that, you know, that's why Superman will never be as good in the movies as in the comics, or any, you know, that's why Batman will never be as it's grounded too much in reality.
I don't know if this is true, but I had heard the story that Chuck Jones had approached Bill Watterson about animating Calvin and Hobbes. And Watterson said no. Says,
Oh,
I
I
can't,
can,
and he said no because he says I can't hear his voice.
yeah.
I
there's-
read that too. Yeah.
It's sort of like, because when I remember when the very first Peanuts came out, it really got panned because people didn't like the voices. And yet Schultz absolutely insisted not using professional voice talent that could do children. He insisted on using real children,
Yeah,
the voice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. I remember hearing that too.
Some director was like, God dang it. That, just knowing from a production standpoint, that would be the biggest pain.
Yeah, but
They're like, wait, why can we only work 4 hours today? It's because we only hired children. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Except for the adults that say wah 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 wah.
Yeah,
It's like a
exactly.
trombone.
We can only hire teachers to do the teacher parts.
Yeah. So the production is gone. It's taking 5 times as longer because why is that? Because we had to hire a teacher to teach the kids on set and oh man.
That's fun.
That-
Recess is a bitch.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. We're
there
at
are so many stories about the
yeah.
things that he insisted on that in today's world, I mean,
Yeah.
he wouldn't, and it was just, and of course, thank goodness he did and make those insistence because it still is great.
Right. It holds up.
There's a
I thought that was interesting that Watterson said no. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah. There's a question from the audience. I want to illustrate children's books. I have ideas for characters for something. I just don't have stories to go with the characters. How do you find writers to help develop these things? I guess in classes you connect. But okay, so take a writing class and work on the writing part of it. I talk a lot with the writer Lisa Whitney, and she was our guest last semester for the illustration program for Visual Arts Passage. And she talks she has a little video she did on her YouTube where she talks about character, and Stephen King will say the same thing in a talk he gave. But think about your characters and think about what do they want? What do characters need? What are they afraid of? What's their superpower or their strength? And then what also think of them in terms of what you can think of them in terms of archetypes too. Is somebody like an adventurer? Is somebody a nurturer? Is somebody a rebel? Or the bad boy or whatever? Is somebody the best friend? And you can look at Schultz and see that really clearly. Linus is the best friend. But he's also a nurturer. Lucy's kind of the rebel in a way, but also Schroeder's kind of a rebel too.
Bill, that's really interesting. I love movies that take classic stories and just put them, they take that template and they put it into their, run it through their filter. Like I think of like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou as an example. Because that's Homer, right? Homer or the Odyssey?
Odyssey.
It's the Odyssey by Homer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, Christopher. Yeah. So
there you go, Christopher Wright. So
Christopher Wright. So there you go. You connected with somebody.
Nicole, message Christopher.
Yeah. Man, Montalvo, that's a fantastic fellow. That's a really fantastic Count Moreau or fellow that goes here.
It's
You mean Dracula.
Dracula. Yeah.
It's getting late. So John, it might be that time.
Yeah.
Start beginning the transition.
Yeah. Can I just say one other thing about
absolutely
stories? So take a, there's lots of great podcasts out there about writing and stuff, but take a story that you really like, a movie or a story that you thought was going to be great, and they turned out they screwed it up, and write your own version of it and fix it. That's a really great way to learn to write a story. Rewrite something.
That's a fun exercise.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Christopher. Yeah. So
That's great, Bill. I've never heard that before, but that's awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's a great idea.
It
Yeah,
kind of gives you a universe that's kind of already built.
right. And then you can go, well, they screwed this up.
Yeah.
And so I can fix that. I got that from a writer listening to a writer talk recently. So
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's like training wheels.
yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And structuring a story based on how another story is done, using it as a structure if you don't know how to do it. Man, I gotta say, Cassandra, that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much.
Christopher says Warner Bros. Messed up a lot of the DC universe. You got tons of content to rewrite there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Rewrite, yeah.
There's no shortage of rewrites that you could do.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're gonna wrap up this last post, so please be sure to post your work to Instagram, because John's gonna be heading over there in a minute. But be sure to post your work. Don't wait until everybody stops drawing. Do it now, and post it with hashtag illustration isolation and at Visual Arts Passage. I'm going to share them in the chat. But we want to see your work, so don't skip this part.
I need another few minutes, Timmy.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to do it. But
one of the things in comics that I've got to stress is
wait,
you're gonna mess up.
I was just going to say, John, you need a couple minutes drawing.
That's what I was thinking about. I'm there.
Okay.
That little, wow, John, that's fantastic.
I was like, hold on.
Jesus.
I gotta make sure that when this ends tonight. Sorry, Bill.
Oh no, it's cool. That's a fantastic Dracula, John.
It is Dracula.
Oh, Chris, that looks so good.
Wow.
Thank you.
Damn, that is good. Chris is, these are fantastic. These are wonderful. No, the only thing I was going to say is that you're going to screw up. You're going to draw panels and panels. You're going to mess them up. Don't beat yourself up about it, because you're building an entire wall of art. You're not making finished. Each one's not like had this perfect finished thing. So
with writing, Bill, I took a creative writing class. I took a lot of them in college, and we were always told, like, give yourself permission to be terrible.
Yeah. Give yourself permission to.
And I've heard like a lot of good writers say that, like very talented writers say, like, oh, I write garbage. I write a lot and I read a lot.
Yeah.
I'm hitting refresh the last time here.
All right, everybody.
I'm going to warn everybody, put your chin straps on. There's some good stuff in here.
Oh, I knew it was going to be a good night. I'm excited to see what everyone did.
Killer stuff in here.
Yeah, don't go anywhere, everybody. This is the fun part.
I'm just looking at Chris's drawing, loving it. It's
I just
great.
want to say, I'm just looking at your guys' drawing. You're all beautiful. It's very inspiring tonight.
Okay, you all ready?
Oh, man. Yeah.
Man,
So good already.
Yeah.
oh wow.
So,
Oh yeah.
Dang, Chuck.
Sweet.
That's good.
look at that.
Oh,
Mercy.
Marcy. Beautiful.
Beautiful stuff. Hey, I got to get rid of this window here. Sorry. Okay. I mean, there's good stuff everywhere. I don't know where to go.
Oh, that Wolfman is cool.
Holy cats.
Holy cat.
Tunnel Snaker Cooper.
Oh, that.
Oh, that.
Oh, the one next to that too. That is amazing.
Wow.
Wow.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
There's so many good, nice
I,
shows.
I love what people have left out. That's what makes them good, you know? Ooh,
Nice, Rebecca.
yeah.
Very nice, Rebecca. This wasn't, that's fun.
That is cool.
I was gonna making
Oh.
sure this wasn't,
Nice.
Felicity didn't get scared, did she? She probably doesn't know the stories.
I love the shadow on that one.
Yeah,
Oh, I like that they did the three together. Up one.
Yeah,
that's fun.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, but wow. I wish those were bigger. I mean, I wish I could see them better. That's some really nice drawing there.
Here's a little arrow.
You're nice, Denise.
We don't go there.
I know. I was just saying.
That's called the rabbit hole.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
We don't follow the rabbit. Oh my God, the Wolfman. Do you see the
That
wolf?
is nice.
Nice,
Deanna.
Sienna.
Yeah, that's
Very
nice.
The
Oh my
wolf-
God, that Wolfman's
Oh my
killer.
gosh.
Yep, that's super.
Jesus.
Well, check
By the
this
way, you were talking about rabbits.
Oh,
For
nice,
those,
Gary.
Yeah.
there's the scary rabbit in Monty Python.
Yes.
Rabbit Rabbit. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I like that one.
I did
Really
too.
cool.
Great.
It looks like it's all done in marker.
Oh wow.
I wonder if it's traditional. Or
Wow, this is
Yeah,
amazing.
because he's the one that did dry erase marker.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's not dry erase. Yeah.
No, not this week, but other weeks I remember he did dry erase.
oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, Gary, gorgeous.
Jesus.
He's the marker bandit.
Some
Oh.
nice editing there, Gary.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oof.
Yeah.
Man.
That's sweet.
Super cool.
I love these.
Cool, Randy.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Really cool.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful.
Artist.
Ooh, look at Doug's.
There we
I
go.
just can't believe it.
Doug, that
Yes.
was made for you. The subject matter was.
Man,
Yeah.
Look at that. That's cool.
That's
Oh,
beautiful.
that's lovely.
It looks like monoprint.
Yeah, I love the hint at color there.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
that's a funny one. Great.
Nice.
Awesome.
Really nice.
Ah. 1, 2.
Well done.
That's really well done. I like that.
That's awesome.
Look at this.
Ooh, yeah, I knew
Wow.
Man.
that.
What does that
was so
remind you
good.
of, Chris?
Man, you handled the lighting of it
It was
beautifully.
red. What would that remind you of? It's painted like the Cornwall.
Dean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the ultimate compliment too.
Ooh.
I don't
nice.
know where to go.
Oh, this is so fun. This is why we need to paint tons of monsters because it's
Yeah, look
so
at that.
fun. Oh, really good.
Next week is slasher week. So
Please put your movies that you're suggesting for Slasher Week, put them in because we still
Oh,
have.
that's great.
yeah,
That reads so well.
and make sure it falls into the genre of slasher films.
Psycho.
A bunch of people are putting Psycho in.
Oh, I love that Frankenstein in the middle there.
If that is true, so would The Shining be. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
and
The
then
Shining
just-
is
and then
fun.
it's just a mess at that point.
Don't you just want to draw like the twins
Yeah.
holding hands?
Yes.
Not for slasher night though, because
No. I'm not saying
The Shining deserves its own night.
it does.
we could do a Shining night for sure.
Oh yeah, should be good.
Psycho too. You could do a whole night on Psycho.
Oh, that's nice.
These are
That's a
great.
cool Frankenstein too.
Yeah.
That whole row.
That's fun.
Hey, Sally.
Really nice, Sally.
Really cool one.
Oh, cool.
I'm loving the Frankenstein to the right too.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
These are fun, just fun characters.
Beautiful. And he said he did it with a palette knife.
Looks
Oh,
like
nice.
Good job.
really well done. That was really, this is a nice one too.
Oofta, yeah.
Beautiful.
So is this one.
Yeah.
Ooh, cool.
Got to put all three of these up.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
That Frankenstein in the middle too is really wonderful.
We pulled it up already.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
missed
Pull it up again, Bill. You were.
Thanks. I was looking. I was sorry.
This is the first time. First time you got pulled up twice.
I
Ah,
looked away for a second. Oh my God. Cool.
Doug, you just got to draw faster. You didn't give me credit.
You didn't finish.
That's a cast shadow. That's a cast shadow.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes.
I'm looking at my reference to see if Doug's cast shadows. Okay, I believe it. Lots of great ones here.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Nice.
that's really great.
Oh, that's nice.
This one looks really fun.
Yeah.
So good.
That
Awesome.
is cool.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
That's
very-
so cool.
You know, so you have so much liberty with that character. You can really push it. What was
Mhm.
his name? Really push that out of bounds, and it still holds together. It's Frankenstein. That's fun. Look
Oh,
at
I
that.
love that. Chris,
Oh,
it's so dang good.
wow.
Finn likes that one too.
He's really improving.
Yeah, Chris, you're getting pretty good at this.
I try.
That's a cast shadow right there, Chris.
Those are some good bolts.
Yeah.
Love his expression. It's just like,
Oh, really nice.
Oh, they're all good.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Thanks, Jeff. Did you
What
see
happened?
that Jeff got some cool illustration work?
Look at this one on the print.
Oh, gosh. I'm
That's fun.
cool.
gonna have fun rolling paint on top of mine.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what you
Very
do
nice
with it.
drawing.
There's so many good ones.
Yeah. All right. Quite a few people said,
Oh,
Herman's in here. We drew Herman. We drew Herman in the morning.
lovely.
all right.
This week.
Quite a few people said they missed the refresh, John. So I'm going to say this. I hope it's worth it, everyone.
Oh,
John, we're going to do one refresh.
this is exciting.
Must have
But-
been a lot of complaints.
I'm just saying though, I hope it was worth it, everyone, because
I think it's going to be
make us regret this.
Harsh.
Look at that.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
beautiful. The eyes, man, so
That's
good.
good.
I love the lighting on that photo.
Oh, that's killer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not going there. Boycotting Devin.
Yeah.
Too good. Too
kidding.
good.
Devin's like, excuse me.
Devin,
calling that
fantastic.
Oh,
Really
that's
good.
right.
It's a really good Dracula, Devin.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That was hard for John to say.
Well, that's nice.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm gonna pull up. We haven't seen many Wolfmans. Here we go.
Nice, Jeff.
Yeah.
A lot of people did. Oh, look at this.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's okay.
Look at this one.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
So many good ones. We're back to the beginning.
That was great. I'm glad we did the refresh.
Yep, me too.
Right.
All right, everybody. Hey, this was a very fun night. Chris, Cassandra, Bill, Montalvo,
Terry.
Terry, Timmy. Thank you for joining us. This was really fun. I really
Yeah.
appreciate
Just reminder,
Loved it.
check out Bill's comic book class. And next week is slasher night.
it. Yeah.
Woohoo.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.